the NFL MVP? That is the question that almost every NFL fan wants the answer to. Mitch, who do you think's the MVP? Who's the most valuable player? Is it Lamar Jackson? What about Joe Burrow? Saquon Barkley? No. Hold up. Take a second. Sit back. Grab your popcorn. Because I'm here to tell you why Josh Allen, yes, Josh Allen, number 17, the greatest one-man show in the NFL, the leader of the mafia, Josh Allen, is the most valuable player in the NFL for the 2024 NFL season. This is for all the jabronis that believe otherwise. And I want to go to the extent of saying this right now. If you disagree with this statement, Josh Allen is the NFL MVP, please let me know in the comments right now and provide your argument as to why Josh is not the MVP. Once I finish this video, which is based on objective stats and facts, comment after the video and tell me whether you agree or you disagree. Sound good? If that sounds good, spike the like button and let me know in the comments your opinion. Okay. Let's talk about it. How we're going to go about discussing this, again, is through objective statistics. This is not a subjective video. I am completely eliminating anything subjective in this video. I'm simply going to be discussing stats that I have read that Josh Allen and his team have accomplished during the campaign of the 2024 NFL season. And I will be doing such through three categories. First is the historic category. And all three of these categories are elements to an MVP season. The first is historic. If an NFL season led by a quarterback is deemed historic by stats, by accomplishment, it is very likely that player will win the MVP. Think to Tom Brady breaking the touchdown record in 2007. Or Tom Brady in 2010 breaking the touchdown to interception ratio record. Or thinking to Peyton Manning in 2013 breaking that same touchdown record. Stats, historic seasons are definitely labeled as MVP seasons. So that's the first category. The second category is team accomplishment. These stats are team-driven stats that Josh Allen led Buffalo to achieve. If your team is very good, and that quarterback is very successful and productive, you can win the MVP. That is how Lamar won the MVP last year. It wasn't because he had a historic year. It was kind of because he didn't have a lot of competition, and the team was very good, and he happened to have a good season. The final category is the most valuable category. And this will be where we mostly compare to Lamar Jackson, who is the other quarterback that is considered to get votes for the MVP. This is where some comparison will come in terms of valuable to his team. In terms of what he has accomplished is very valuable to why Buffalo is successful. So let's get to it. Let's discuss through the stats and through the facts why Josh Allen is the MVP of 2024. If you haven't already, jabroni, spike the like button and subscribe. Let's begin with the historic category, in my opinion, the most important category, because this is where the strongest of strong MVP seasons come. Let's begin with Josh Allen has the fewest negative plays, turnovers plus sacks ever, and I mean ever, by a quarterback to attempt 450 plus passes in a season. To say that again, Josh Allen has the fewest negative plays, combining sacks and turnovers in a season with volume, 450 plus attempts. Now, why I think this is a great stat, which is the subjective element, is that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. The greatest trait that Bill Belichick thought Tom Brady possessed was his ability to avoid negative plays. And I believe that the single most important trait that a quarterback can have, it's not playmaking, it's the ability to avoid negative plays that are detrimental to your offense and your team. That is how winning is done. That's what Tom Brady did. That's what Josh Allen accomplished this year. The fewest ever. The second stat is that Josh Allen is the first ever quarterback with 40 plus touchdowns in 5 straight seasons. Now, this is a length of time sample size stat. This is not just based on 2024. Okay, so some of you will get upset about that. But I think that speaks to his consistency of being a legitimate elite quarterback for all of these years. I think it speaks to the unique nature of his game because I don't think any other quarterback has ever accomplished 5 straight seasons of 40 plus touchdowns. He's a freak of nature. He is a touchdown machine, Josh Allen. There's a reason he's so good when it comes to fantasy football. Josh Allen is the second player in NFL history to have 28 passing touchdowns plus and 12 rushing touchdowns or more in a season. And that other player won the MVP. That other player was Cam Newton in 2015. And just like Cam Newton, Josh Allen can beat you throwing or running, which is what made, at that time of 2015, that season so unique and so dominant and so impactful and so influential and so reminiscent. It's historic. We remember Cam Newton. And that is exactly what Josh Allen has done, maybe even to a greater degree. Josh Allen's ability to throw and run has surpassed that of Cam Newton, which won him an MVP. Now, this final stat within the historic category is pretty incredible because Josh Allen plays in the Buffalo winter. And Josh Allen had 18 total touchdowns in the month of December and only 1 turnover. That's the first player in NFL history with 18 or more touchdowns and 1 or fewer turnover in a single month in the NFL, ever. September, October, November, December. 4 weeks of games, 18 touchdowns, only 1 turnover. That is insane. That is insanity. Now, there were a couple of other stats that could be deemed historic that I will shift towards the team accomplishment category. The first of which is that without a 1,000-yard running back or wide receiver, Josh Allen had 40 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. I'm not sure if that's ever been accomplished. I really don't think so. 40 touchdowns? 40? With no 1,000-yard running back or wide receiver? And the more impressive is what his team accomplished, led by Josh Allen. The Bills scored 30-plus points in 8 straight games. Not 6, not 7, 8. Every single time that has happened in NFL history, the team has won the MVP. And notice how I say team. Tom Brady won the MVP in 2007. Tom Brady won the MVP in 2010. Peyton Manning won the MVP in 2013. And Marshall Faulk won the MVP in 2000. Now, what's even more impressive about this is that there's been players that have missed time on this offense. Amari Cooper got traded at the mid-season point. Dalton Kincaid has been hurt. Coleman has been hurt. Shakir has been hurt. Pretty much every single one of the useful options of the Buffalo Bills attack has been injured at some point. So Josh Allen has been able to put up a consistency of 30 plus points, no matter the weather, no matter the location, no matter the support, no matter the receiving core. And he is next to names like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and some of the greatest offenses we've ever seen. And yet people still do not think that he is MVP, despite not having Randy Moss. Okay? He's not the greatest show on turf. He's still putting up 30 plus points a week. Continuing with the team accomplishments. The Bills scored the most points and touchdowns in franchise history. And why I feel that is so impressive is because in the 90s, the Bills had one of the best offenses in NFL history, led by Jim Kelly, Andre Reed, and Thurman Thomas. And I even believe a few years ago, the Bills might have broken that record. So Allen might have set his own record here. But the Bills have had historic offenses, led by Kelly and Allen. And he still was able to accomplish that with a kind of underwhelming supporting cast. Like entering the season, the expectation for the Bills, for some, was to not even make the playoffs. For Vegas, it was to finish second in their division. For some in the media, it was that Josh Allen was going to have a down year. For some in fantasy football circles, it was that he shouldn't be the QB1 selected in fantasy. Across the board, people doubted Josh Allen. But he has still accomplished this. He won more games and was the higher seed than Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, and he's the same seed as Saquon Barkley. So if you're going to make some sort of team-based accomplishment, team-based argument, every single one should belong to Josh Allen. The Bills, as a team, have wins versus the 15-1 Chiefs and the 14-2 Lions, making them the first team in NFL history to beat two 14-plus win teams in a single season. Josh Allen in those games went absolutely nuts. Allen in those games had a 67.5 completion percentage, 624 passing yards, which is obviously over 300 per game, 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns, which is 3 per game, and only 1 turnover. He also, on top of having 624 passing yards, had 123 rushing yards. If you look at that as a collective, that would be around 750 yards in 2 games against 2 of the best teams in the NFL. The number 1 seed in the AFC and quite possibly the number 1 seed in the NFC, or at least one of the best teams in the league. Okay? So that is pretty wild. Now, let's get to the next category and the final category, which is the most valuable category. And this will be mostly where we compare him to Lamar Jackson. But I think this is also where we get to dive into what makes Josh Allen's accomplishments so impressive, because he is not supported by Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. He is not supported by Derrick Henry. He is not supported by the best offensive line in football with Saquon Barkley. He is supported by, most people would say, middling receivers, an above average running back, and a good but not great offensive line. An average defense, an average coach, an average offensive scheme. There is nothing across the board that Josh Allen can hang his hat on and say, I have this receiver. I have this running back. I have this tight end. There is nobody on his team. And that is where you say Josh Allen, right, had no receiver beyond 600 yards receiving. Josh Allen had no receiver, not a single one, that had more than 600 yards receiving. He did not have a single receiver with over 5 touchdowns. He did not have a running back that ran for 1,000 yards. He did not have a receiver that ran for 1,000 or that had 1,000 yards receiving. And still, the team had the second most points in the NFL. He had 13 different players catch a touchdown, which is tied for the most in NFL history. When you compare him to Lamar Jackson and the support on their teams, the Ravens had 9 Pro Bowlers to their team. The Bills had 2, and that included Josh Allen. 2. Second best offense in the league. 8 straight 30-plus point games. 2 Pro Bowlers. Josh Allen led the NFL in EPA, expected points added, with 192.6. That is nearly 30 more than Lamar Jackson. He leads the NFL in EPA per play for 2024. He's leading just one of 5 offenses this century, since 2000, to average 3 points per drive and is responsible for 72% of the team's total yardage. Lamar, 68% for the Ravens. Still very good, but not quite 72%. And he's only one of 5 offenses to have 3 points per drive. When you look at negative plays between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, Allen does have more interceptions, 6-4, but he has 5 less fumbles. He has 3 less fumbles lost, and he has 10 less sacks taken. Lamar is applauded for his escapability, but Allen is in fact even better than Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen can't be better than himself. He's better than Lamar Jackson at avoiding sacks. He leads the NFL in sack percentage this season, right? Pressure to sack percentage, only 8%, according to PFF, which is first. When you look at pressure numbers, Lamar only faced 38 quick pressures this season, while Josh Allen faced 69. So the argument that his offensive line is much better is maybe not quite the case, or maybe it has something to do with the fact that Allen sees a little bit more volume. Maybe it has the fact to do with, okay, Lamar and the Ravens run a lot more play action, which is certainly true, right? Lamar has 29 unblocked quarterback pressures, while Josh saw 33. And yet still, with 69 quick pressures to his name, Allen has taken 0 sacks. 0 unblocked sacks. Lamar has taken 3. So Allen is better at escaping sacks. He's better at limiting turnovers. And he's better at getting more out of less. That sounds like value, in my opinion. Josh Allen has 16 plus touchdowns to interception, fumble, and sacks. Every one of those players that has been plus 13 in that category of touchdowns to negative plays has won the MVP. Every single one. Now, the final stat is one that some people don't really want to digest. These are the Lamar Jackson stands, which is fine. But this is to do with how their receivers help them and how their scheme helps them in particular. I think this is more scheme than receiver talent, personally. Lamar's pass catchers are the most open in the NFL this season, deeming 3+ yards of separation as wide open, right? Or open, while 5+ yards is wide open. Lamar led the NFL in both open targets to throw to and wide open targets to throw to this season. For comparison, Allen's pass catchers are open at a 49% rate, while Lamar's are open at a 59% rate. Allen's are wide open at a 28% rate, 5+ yards of separation, while Lamar's are a 35% rate. Again, Lamar led the NFL in both categories. Lamar had 69% of his yards and 51% of his touchdowns to open targets, while Allen had 41% of his yards and only 31% of his touchdowns to pass catchers deemed wide open. So even in comparison to open to wide open, right, that's, so Allen leads the league in attempts and yards off of scrambles, which is where Lamar Jackson arguments would die. Because if people say that the reason that the Ravens receivers are so open is because of Lamar's ability to ad-lib, create, and make something happen with the football, That just doesn't make sense in comparison to what Josh does, because Josh actually has more yards off scrambles. He has more yards off the extended plays than Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson is actually just gaining more yards and more plays. And if you watch them through the eye test and you study the tape and you go week to week and you watch their games, which is where I've been so frustrated with this conversation. Because Allen, on a level of difficulty standpoint, throwing the football, his season has been so much harder than Lamar Jackson's. As good as Lamar Jackson is, he sees way more open players. And I think part of that is because of the amount of play action. Part of that is because of the threat of Derrick Henry. And part of that is because of the receiver talent, and part of that's because of the scheme and the play calling. But Lamar actually has the second most open/wide open touchdowns inside of structure. The second most. While Josh leads the NFL in attempts and yards off of scrambles. So Josh usually has to do more through him individually than Lamar does. That is value. Allen also, on top of being this good off of scramble drills, led the NFL in big-time throws and big-time throw percentage, which measures tight window downfield throws. Allen was the best in the NFL at throwing dots this year. That's what I would categorize as a dot, as a piss missile, right? A tight window, big-time throw. You combine that with the fact that Allen was also graded as the best rushing quarterback in the NFL according to PFF, and you have not only an argument that Allen is the best passer in the NFL, but he's also the best rusher in the NFL. He's the most explosive passer in the NFL, and he's also the most explosive rusher in the NFL. And not only is he the best, most explosive passer in the NFL, but he's the best, most explosive rusher in the NFL, and he avoids negative plays better than anybody else. That is the underline. That's the exclamation point. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you change your mind on this MVP argument, let me know in the comment section below. It's Mitch. That is why I believe Josh Allen is the MVP. Not because of subjectivity, not because of a subjective argument, but because of the objective facts and stats that back up the claim that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in football and he is the MVP this season. Thanks, guys, for watching. It's Mitch. Deuces.